Welcome back tuning into this afternoon's video. I just want to have a look at the weather at the weekend. We've got a bit of an interesting situation beginning to develop for the weekend, Friday into weekend. We've got low pressure coming in from the Atlantic, but we've got this area of high pressure that's been sitting over Scandinavia for a while now, and this low pressure coming in from west is not coming in on this morning's models with as much conviction as it was yesterday and over the weekend. Now what this means is that cold air is going to be very, very close to us, just round the North Sea, and it wouldn't take much actually as this low pressure comes up against the high pressure over Scandinavia to turn some of the rain to snow. Probably there's no actual sign of snow this morning in the chart, but the hints are there that something could happen, so we'll just have a very quick look at that in a moment. Before I get on with it though, I just want to talk about the advertisement video ads on my pages at GazWeatherViz.com. And if you press play on the video ads, you'll be supporting GazWeatherViz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. Just want to start off with tonight. This is the visibility forecast from the website Weather Online from the high resolution NAE model. We're going to have a lot of fog developing overnight tonight. Now, I did have some mist and fog patches this morning, but most of those will go. But as we go into this evening, already at 6 o'clock in the evening, we're finding these red patches beginning to appear around central Scotland and north-east England. That is poor visibility, but more intense the colour, the worse the visibility on these charts. So even at 6 o'clock, got dense fog beginning to form through the Vale of York and across central parts of Scotland. And that just gets more widespread as we run through the evening into 9 o'clock up to midnight. Look how extensive the fog is at midnight. Bright red colours there across most of England and Wales. That is dense patches of fog, not a widespread blanket of fog, it's patches of fog, and they're going to be really thick through the course of tonight. They'll get more widespread as we go through into the early hours, so by 6 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday morning, a very, very foggy scene then across many parts of England, particularly central and east areas through the Midlands, north-east England, the Midlands, down in central England, on into south-east parts of England. Notice around London, you've got a clear patch there in central London, probably no fog, but in the outer areas and through the Midlands into north-east England, yet there will be a lot of fog around in many places. Really dense fog, and with temperatures going below freezing, possibly as low as -3, some of that will be freezing, producing icy patches. So if you're going to be travelling about early tomorrow morning, do take care. It's going to be a very, very nasty start to Tuesday morning. That fog will take a long time to go, but eventually through the morning it will clear away because the wind's going to freshen up, and by the time we get through to the afternoon, away from central Scotland where that area of poor visibility is probably snow, away from there we've got pretty good visibility across most parts of the country, and that's because all the fog has gone as a band of wind and rain moves in. So that's going to be the next problem through the course of Tuesday. We'll clear the fog away, but we'll bring a band of rain in across the country, turning it quite wet in many places. The pink area there indicating that there will be some snow over the mountains of central Scotland, but generally it's going to be rainfall. Now you're going to keep this sort of battle between the low pressure in the Atlantic and the high pressure going for the rest of the week. But as we get through towards Friday, things are starting to get quite interesting, because there's the high pressure over Scandinavia at 1,030 millibars. Here comes the low pressure off the Atlantic, and well, we're going to find a bit of a stall taking place on this weather system as it comes in. So notice the southerly wind here, that's where the weather front is associated with that area of low pressure. Notice how little progress eastwards it's making across the country. Now, when I did the weekend broadcast on Saturday, that was showing the low pressure just blast through on Friday and produce eventually a very mild southwesterly wind. But things have really changed with this now, and we're definitely getting a stall occurring here on the weather system as it's coming up against that area of high pressure from the Atlantic. That can be a scenario for snow, but it depends how cold the air is coming in from the east. But even as we go through 24 hours into 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, still very little progress into the east of the country made by that weather system. And actually the kink in the ice bars there is indicating that the low pressure is slipping away somewhat to the south of the country. So it's come up against that high pressure over Scandinavia, it's stalled, and then it's starting to slide away. That very often can be an indication for a snow event. But as I said, it depends how cold the air is. Here's the precipitation forecast for 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. There's the rainfall out to west of Ireland. Most areas are dry and probably frosty at 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. But rain comes into the west, kind of stalls really across western parts of the country, makes very little progress eastwards through the course of Friday. So many parts of the country actually stay dry through the course of Friday. And then eventually that low pressure pushes weather a little bit further eastward, so most of Scotland, Northern England, Wales, South West England, the Midlands turn wet, but it's not getting into the southeast even at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. The rain or the precipitation is really in the north and west, not really making much progress through the Midlands into southeast England. That is a clear indication that the weather system is stalling across the country as it comes up against that area of high pressure. Now, is that rain or is that wintry weather? Well, we've got to have a look at the upper air temperatures first of all, and the -5 isotherm, which is sort of proper cold air, is just off the east coast at 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Notice this big warm sector with this yellow area in the Atlantic. As I say, on Saturday when I did the weekend forecast, that warm sector was forecast just bathe the country by the end of Friday. But look what happens to it as we run through these charts. It comes into the west of the country, but it doesn't make much progress eastwards through the course of Friday, so a definite stall going on there of the weather system of warm air through Ireland, but not really making much progress than the far west of the country. And the -5 isotherm, which I say is proper cold air, is actually coming onto the east coast by 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday. Eventually, as we go into midnight on Saturday, that warm sector does make a little bit more progress in. It's getting into Wales and southwestern parts of England. And through to 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, it makes a little bit more progress in, but still eastern areas are in relatively cool to cold air. And then that warm sector starts to slide away to the south as we go through Saturday. That again can be an indication on the northern and eastern side for snow when a warm sector slides to the south like that, as opposed to pushing across the country. That can be an indication for a snow event on the northern and eastern side of that warm sector where you stay more or less in the cold air. By the time you get through 6 o'clock in the evening on Saturday, that warm sector has gone down into France, so we're bringing cold air back in from the north. So that's very interesting, the way that warm sector stalls as it comes into the west and then slides away to the south. If the dew points are playing ball, that would be an indication in the north and the east for snow. So let's have a look at the dew points, see what they're showing. And dew points really are reflecting the humidity in the atmosphere. When they're below freezing, that's a very good indication for snow if you've got the upper air temperatures supporting it. So we start off at 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday with the dew points hovering around freezing. It'll be a frosty start to Friday morning, I think. But as we go through Friday itself, you notice that the dew points actually lift up. They're not really below freezing. They're just off the east coast. That's where the line here is. I don't know if you can make it out, but just off the east coast is where the line is for the dew points to be below freezing. Anywhere east of that through the continent, they're deeply in the freezer. For us, we're just about staying with both dew points above freezing. So that is the sort of complication, the caveat, that at the moment the dew points are not supporting snowfall, and the dew points are one of the most important factors for snowfall. So it looks like this is all going to be a lot of cold rain on the evidence of this morning's models through Friday into Saturday. But look how close that line is for the dew point to be below freezing. It's just off the east coast. It really wouldn't take much of an adjustment to bring those dew points in below freezing across the country. If that happens, then things start getting very interesting as we move through into Friday, into Saturday. So we are going to have to keep an eye on this, because it's becoming a very close run thing now between a lot of cold rain, particularly in the north and west, and the risk, and I'll say it no more than that, of some snow, particularly for Scotland and eastern parts of England perhaps. And then we may do it all over again Saturday into Sunday. We've got another area of low pressure racing in off the Atlantic at 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. That's coming up against the high pressure over Scandinavia and stalling once again. The kink in the ice bars here, the allegation, definite indication that the weather system is stalling across the country. And there we go, we've got an area of low pressure sitting just to the southeast of the country by 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So that's another 24 hours worth of either cold rain or maybe something more wintry. Would depend again on the exact soundings, the dew points, the upper air temperatures at the time. But it's again a suggestion that the low pressure coming up against that high pressure and stalling Sunday into Monday. So very interesting charts going on at the moment for the weekend. As we get through to Tuesday on into Wednesday, then more definite signs that low pressure starts to push with more conviction, eventually introduces Atlantic air by day 10. But very interesting charts this morning. That high pressure has been sort of sitting around Scandinavia for a while. It's been sort of on and off whether it's going to do anything, whether it's going to introduce cold air. It still looks as though the cold air is going to stay just off the east coast. But the fact these low pressures are coming in now, or forecast to come in, on Friday and over the weekend, and really stall against that high pressure, it's very interesting. It's probably going to produce no more than a lot of cold rain and an increasing risk again on flooding. But with the cold air so close now to the east coast for the weekend, we have got to be looking out for the possibility of some wintry conditions for Scotland and eastern England in particular. I'll keep you updated on it over the next few days. It's no more than a bit of interest really at the moment, but I'll keep you updated. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.